The narration remains word for word identical in tone, pacing, emotion, and every single detail. While I was fixing our broken toilet at 2 a.m. with a 102 degrees fever, my wife recorded me and sent it to her group chat. Ladies, meet my pathetic excuse for a husband. Can't even afford a plumber. Look how he crawls around like a desperate cockroach. Then she posted it on Instagram. This is what rock bottom looks like. Her friends left laughing emojis. I got angry and finished the repair. 3 weeks later, she called 13 times begging me to undo what I did. Sorry if this comes out like a jumbled mess. My hands are still shaking from anger and probably this damn fever that won't break. So, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm James, 35, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I was in a mostly okay marriage with Shirley, 33. We've been together for 9 years, married for 7, no kids, thank God. Looking back now, there were probably a million red flags I ignored, but you know how it goes. You're in it, and you don't see the forest for the trees or whatever. Anyway, we've always had different approaches to money. I grew up watching my parents struggle to keep the lights on, so I've always been careful. Budget spreadsheets, emergency fund, the whole responsible adult thing. Shirley, not so much. Her parents bailed her out of everything until she was 26. And old habits die hard, I guess. The past couple years have been rough financially. Housing market went crazy. Our rent got jacked up twice, and I've been picking up every extra hour I can at work plus side jobs on weekends. Meanwhile, Shirley keeps spending like we're rolling in cash, new clothes every month, fancy dinners with her friends, subscription boxes for literally everything. Every time I'd bring it up, she'd roll her eyes and say I was being dramatic or sucking the joy out of life. So, that brings us to 3 weeks ago. I'd been pulling double shifts all week, running on energy drinks and protein bars. Got home around midnight feeling like absolute garbage. Chills, headache, the works. Took my temperature. 102. Just wanted to down some meds and pass out. But when I got upstairs, there was water everywhere. The toilet in our main bathroom was overflowing, and Shirley was just standing there scrolling on her phone. I've been texting you for hours, she said, not even looking up. It started leaking after I flushed, then it just kept getting worse. I asked why she didn't call an emergency plumber, and she has the nerve to scoff and say, "Do you know how much those cost? We can't afford that right now." This from the woman who spent $300 on a skin cream last week because some influencer said it would change her life. But whatever. So, there I am, burning up with fever, kneeling in toilet water at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what's wrong. Turns out there was some kind of blockage, probably from those flushable wipes Shirley insists on using, even though I've told her 1,000 times they'll mess up our plumbing. I'm digging around with the plunger, then had to pull the whole toilet to check the trap, all while Shirley is just standing in the doorway watching me and occasionally making these little huffing noises like I'm inconveniencing her. I was so focused on not passing out face first into sewage that I didn't even notice she was recording me on her phone. Didn't notice until my own phone buzzed with a notification. See, Shirley and I are in this shared photo album thing, and sometimes her group chat media gets backed up there automatically. My screen lit up and I saw myself on my knees, sweating through my shirt, toilet parts all around me. And then I saw the caption she sent with it. Ladies, meet my pathetic excuse for a husband. Can't even afford a plumber. Look how he crawls around like a desperate cockroach. I just froze. Felt like someone had dumped ice water down my spine. She must have seen my face change because she suddenly got all defensive. Said it was just a joke and her friends know she's kidding. But I could see the responses in the chat. Laughing emojis. OMG. Poor you stuck with Mr. Fix-It. At least he's useful for something. And then I noticed the notification from that photo app. She'd posted it there, too, with the caption, "This is what rock bottom looks like." 14 likes already. Comments from her friends laughing. One saying, "Girl, you married a handyman, not a husband." 7 years of marriage reduced to being her personal punchline. I didn't yell, didn't say anything, actually. Just turned back to the toilet and methodically finished the repair while this cold rage built inside me. Every snicker from her, every buzz of her phone with new comments from her friends. It was like another brick in the wall I was building between us in my mind. When I finished, I cleaned everything up, washed my hands, and took more fever meds. Shirley had wandered off to the bedroom by then. I grabbed my pillow and went to the spare room without a word. Laid there, staring at the ceiling, scrolling back through 7 years of being the butt of her jokes. 7 years of fixing everything while she spent us into debt. 7 years of it's just how I am, James. And you're too sensitive. The next morning, while Shirley was still asleep, I checked our bank account on my phone. There was a pending charge from some online shoe store. $320 for a pair of shoes she'd ordered. While I was fixing the toilet, she claimed we couldn't afford to call a plumber for. Something just snapped inside me. All those years of being the responsible one, the one who fixed everything, who worked overtime to keep us afloat while she treated me like her personal ATM and handyman. And now I was her social media clown, too. I got up, took a shower, and I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. Still had a fever, still felt like garbage. But something had changed. I was done being her handyman. Punchline. I was done being the responsible adult while she acted like a spoiled teenager. I was done being disrespected in my own home in front of her friends on the internet. So, I made a plan. I'm not normally a vengeful person. But this wasn't about vengeance. This was about consequence. And Shirley was about to learn that some things can't be fixed with her daddy's credit card or a casual sorry babe. Over the next 3 weeks, I set everything in motion. And now she's called me 13 times begging me to undo what I did. Update. Holy you guys. I wasn't expecting my first post to blow up like that. Thanks for all the supportive comments. Feels good knowing I'm not crazy for being pissed about this whole situation. Anyway, a bunch of you asked for the next part of this train wreck. So, here goes. After the toilet incident, I went into what I can only describe as stealth mode. On the outside, perfect husband James. Still fixing stuff, still going to work, still nodding and smiling at Shirley's endless complaints about her stressful part-time job at the boutique. But inside my head, I was done. The morning after Toiletgate, I forced myself to act normal, even though my fever was still hanging around 100 degrees. Made coffee, kissed Shirley goodbye, the whole routine. But as soon as she left, I started digging. First thing I did was go through our finances with a fine-tooth comb. What I found made me want to throw up, and not from the fever. In the past 6 months alone, Shirley had spent over $7,000 on clothes, makeup, and random crap. $7,000. Meanwhile, I'd been brown bagging lunches and skipping haircuts to save money. She'd also borrowed from our house repair fund 3 times for weekend trips with her friends. Each time telling me some BS about how her portion was only a couple $100. But the financial stuff wasn't even what hurt the most. While going through our shared cloud storage looking for bank statements, I found this folder called Hubby LOLs. Curiosity got the better of me. And wow, just wow. It was hundreds of screenshots of texts between Shirley and her friends spanning back years. All making fun of me. My clothes, my blue-collar life, the way I talk, pictures she'd sneakily taken of me doing repairs around the house with captions like "Another Day in Paradise with Bob the Builder." And when you marry for personality and not money, there was a whole text thread from last Christmas when I spent 3 days building her that custom vanity she absolutely, where she was sending her friends progress pics with comments like, "Trained him well, didn't I? At least he's good for something." I swear I sat there staring at my screen for like an hour. 7 years. 7 years I've been busting my ass for this woman, fixing everything, paying for everything, supporting her through 3 different career paths. She got bored. And the whole time I was just her personal joke. That's when the plan started forming. First, I opened a new bank account at a different bank. Started redirecting my direct deposit there, but only partially. Just enough that she wouldn't notice right away, but enough to build up a safety net. Next, I started learning everything about our house systems. Spent late nights after Shirley went to bed watching tutorials online, reading forums, making detailed notes about our plumbing, electrical, and HVAC setups. Ordered parts here and there. Nothing suspicious. Just stuff that would look like normal maintenance supplies to her. Then I installed a smart home system, telling Shirley it would save us money on utilities and increase our home value. She loved that part, even bragged about it on her socials. What she didn't know was that I set it up with layers of passwords and fail-safes that only I knew. Think of it as mission control for what was coming. The real genius, if I do say so myself, was what I did next. Over those 3 weeks, I made small, virtually undetectable modifications to various systems in the house. Nothing dangerous, just particular adjustments that wouldn't show immediate effects, but would eventually require very specific knowledge to fix. Like, I installed these special valve restrictors in certain water lines that would gradually reduce water pressure over time. Reprogram the thermostat with custom settings that would make certain zones of the house slightly uncomfortable at specific times of day. Little things that wouldn't be obvious right away. I also gathered evidence, screenshots of all her spending, her messages mocking me, everything. Backed it all up in 3 different places. Not for blackmail or anything sketchy, just so I could keep my resolve when the inevitable guilt trip started. About 2 weeks in, I had this unexpected run-in with Shirley's friend Oakley at the grocery. This woman who had commented, "At least my husband makes enough we don't have to watch YouTube plumbing videos," on Shirley's toilet post. I was grabbing some stuff for dinner when she came up all fake friendly, asking how I was feeling after being so sick while fixing the toilet. I just looked at her and said I was feeling much better. Thanks. And that it was nice to finally meet the person who thought my wife publicly humiliating me was hilarious. The look on her face. Then I added that I hoped her husband's good salary would cover the fancy plumber she'd need when her toilet inevitably backed up. Just smiled and walked away while she stood there with her mouth open. Small victory, but damn, it felt good. Week 3, I found a decent apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just clean and functional. Paid the deposit and first month's rent. Started slowly moving my important stuff there when Shirley wasn't. Documents, family photos, irreplaceable things from my grandparents. She never even noticed items disappearing because she was too wrapped up in planning this big weekend getaway with her friends. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Shirley announced she was going on a girls' trip for 3 days. As she was packing, she handed me this massive to-do list of things to fix while she was gone. The absolute audacity. The list included repainting the guest room, fixing a window that made weird noises, and reorganizing her closet. Then she had the nerve to tell me this trip was self-care because living with me was so stressful lately. I just nodded and told her to have fun, all while knowing exactly what was about to happen. The night before she left, I caught her texting her friends about how she was leaving the sad handyman with his honeydew list. And they were all laughing about it. She was still typing away when I leaned over and kissed her cheek. Told her I hoped she had an amazing trip. The confusion on her face was priceless. She was expecting me to be upset about the trip. Instead, I was practically helping her pack. The morning she left, I got up early and made her favorite breakfast. Told her I'd take care of everything on the list. Carried her bags to her friend's car. Waved goodbye with this big smile on my face. As soon as her friend's car turned the corner, I went back inside, sat down at the kitchen table, and finally let myself feel everything. The anger, the hurt, the absolute certainty that I was doing the right thing. I gave myself exactly 30 minutes to process it all. Then I got to work implementing the final phase of my plan. I'll be honest, there was a moment around noon when I almost backed out. Started thinking maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I should just have a serious talk with her when she got back. But then my phone dinged with a notification. Shirley had posted a car selfie with her friends captioned Freedom Weekend. Left the ball and chain with a to-do list longer than his attention span. And just like that, any doubt vanished. By 3 o'clock, everything was set. I took one last look around what had been my home for 7 years, sent a few commands to the smart home system from my phone, and walked out the door with my last bag of belongings. The clock was ticking on her perfect little world, and she had absolutely no idea what was coming. Final update. First off, holy crap at all the comments and messages. I've been trying to respond to as many as I can, but there's literally thousands at this point. I didn't realize my train wreck of a marriage would be so entertaining to so many internet strangers. Anyway, Here's the finale you've all been waiting for. After leaving the house that day, I crashed at my new apartment. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with beige walls and carpet that had seen better days, but it was mine. No to-do lists, no walking on eggshells. I grabbed some takeout, set up my gaming console, and played for hours like I was 17 again. Felt weird, but good, like I'd been holding my breath for years and could finally exhale. I'd left a sealed envelope on the kitchen counter for Shirley. Inside was a letter explaining exactly why I was leaving, printouts of her social media posts mocking me, screenshots of her text messages with friends, and detailed records of her spending habits compared to our income. No dramatic accusations or name-calling, just cold, hard facts. That first night alone was strange. I kept reaching for my phone to check if she'd texted about something needing to be fixed. Old habits die hard, I guess. But I forced myself to focus on setting up my new place instead. Hung up my clothes, arranged the few personal items I'd brought, made a grocery list, normal stuff. Day 1 of Shirley's trip passed without any contact. I knew she wouldn't discover anything until she got home. So, I used the time to get settled and finalize everything. Transferred the utilities at our house to her name. Changed the passwords on all the household accounts. Activated the first phase of my home system's modifications remotely through the smart home app. Day 2, late afternoon, my phone blew up. First text from Shirley. Very funny turning the hot water off. Turn it back on now. I didn't respond. The thing is, I hadn't turned the water off. I just adjusted the valve restrictors to start their gradual pressure decrease. But of course, she assumed it was some simple on-off switch she could yell at me to fix. 20 minutes later, James, this isn't funny anymore. The upstairs shower has no pressure and the bathroom sink is making weird noises. 30 minutes after that, I've been trying all the faucets and nothing's working right. Did you mess with something before I left? An hour later, the first actual phone call came in. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was surprisingly calm, asking if I could walk her through whatever maintenance I'd done because something seems off with the water. By evening, the texts had escalated. She'd discovered my note and the evidence. Her tone shifted completely. You can't just leave over a stupid joke. Answer your phone. This is childish, James. So, I shared a funny video with my friends. Get over it. Where are you? All your stuff is gone. Is this some kind of joke? Then the second call came in and the third. Each voicemail more desperate than the last. By the fourth call, she'd discovered that her online shopping accounts weren't working because I'd removed my cards from them all. The fifth call came at 11 that night. I was half asleep when my phone lit up. Her voice in the voicemail was shaky, less confident. James, please come home. The house is making weird noises, and I don't know what's happening. The heating keeps turning on and off, and there's this clicking sound in the walls. That was just the smart thermostats I'd programmed with irregular cycles. Completely harmless, just unsettling if you don't know what's causing it. I slept surprisingly well that night. Day 3 started with call number 6 at 6 o'clock in the morning. Shirley sounded like she'd been crying. The toilet is backing up and I don't know how to fix it. Please just call me back. By midday, her friends had gotten involved. Got a text from her friend Oakley that was basically a paragraph of insults and threats about how I was a pathetic man for abandoning Shirley over a harmless joke. I sent back a single screenshot, the one where Oakley had suggested Shirley should leave me for someone with actual career prospects. She didn't text again after that. Calls 7 and 8 came in quick succession around dinner time. The house was getting colder because the smart thermostat was gradually lowering the temperature by half a degree every few hours. Nothing dangerous, just uncomfortable. The water pressure was continuing its planned decline. And apparently the garbage disposal had started making an ominous grinding noise. Totally normal when you know the right maintenance schedule, which I'd always handled. That night, Shirley posted on social media for the first time since returning home. Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. Thinking about a lot of things tonight. No laughing emojis this time. Day 4 was when reality truly hit her. That morning, She tried to order delivery for breakfast only to discover that our joint account had been emptied except for enough to cover essential bills. All my direct deposits were now going to my new account. She'd always relied on my income for everything beyond her basic expenses. Calls 9 and 10 were straight-up panic. "James, I can't access any of the accounts. I tried to pay for groceries and my card declined. This isn't funny anymore. The realtor next door said what you did to the house could bring down our property value. Please just come fix it." Around noon, I finally picked up call number 11. Figured it was time to actually talk. Her voice was barely recognizable. A mixture of anger, fear, and confusion. She kept switching between accusations and pleading. Said I was being cruel. Asked why I would sabotage our house. Demanded to know where I was staying. I just calmly explained that I hadn't sabotaged anything. I'd simply stopped maintaining things that were always my responsibility. Everything was working exactly as well as it would if she'd married someone who didn't know how to fix things. Someone who'd have to call professionals for every little issue. Someone who wasn't a pathetic excuse for a husband who crawls around like a desperate cockroach. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought she'd hung up. Then in a small voice, she asked what it would take for me to come back. I told her 3 things. A public apology on the same social platforms where she'd humiliated me. Complete financial transparency going forward and couples therapy. Then I hung up. Call 12 came that evening. She agreed to my terms, voice breaking, asked when I could come home. I told her I wasn't coming home. That wasn't my home anymore. But I would come fix the house issues after she posted the public apology. The next morning, I checked social media. And there it was, a surprisingly honest post about how she'd taken me for granted, publicly mocked me, and squandered our finances. Said she was ashamed of her behavior and that I deserved better.
No excuses. No deflección.
I was scrolling through the surprised comments from her friends when call 13 came in. Shirley was sobbing, saying she'd never realized how much she depended on me until everything stopped working. Said her friends were all upset because their husbands were asking why they couldn't fix things like I could. Said she'd never felt so alone or helpless. For a split second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then she said something that confirmed I'd made the right choice. "I didn't realize how good I had it with you handling everything. No one else would put up with me like you did. Not I love you. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry I hurt you. Just acknowledgement that I'd been useful and tolerant." I went to the house that afternoon, fixed the major issues while she watched silently from the doorway. Explained what I'd done to the various systems and how to maintain them properly. Left detailed instructions and contact info for local repair services. The whole time she kept trying to touch my arm, my shoulder, little attempts at reconnect ion that fell flat. When I finished, she asked if this was really it, if 7 years meant nothing to me. I told her it had meant everything to me. That was the problem. I'd given everything while she gave nothing but mockery in return. We agreed to sell the house and split the assets. She's staying with her parents until then. Her social media has been quiet ever since. It's been 2 months now. I'm settled into my apartment, started hiking on weekends, joined a local gaming group, went on one awkward date that went nowhere, but it was a start. Yesterday, I ran into Oakley at the grocery store again. She avoided eye contact, grabbed her items, and practically sprinted to another checkout line. Guest screenshots really do last forever. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, if I could have just talked it out with Shirley. But then I remember her laughing while I fixed that toilet with a fever of 102. Remember 7 years of being the butt of her jokes.